MiamiRollerDerby.com, in conjunction with 247Miami.tv, is proud to present Rink Rash Radio. 60 minutes of everything roller derby in the 305. Visit MiamiRollerDerby.com for more information on upcoming bouts and events. And now, Rink Rash Radio.
And we're live with Rink Rash Radio. We're doing something new today, and we're pardon the awkwardness, but we're on Periscope. We are broadcasting live right now on Periscope, and I can't seem to get the camera right. I'm totally blocking Anger or the mic, but we'll keep going. So today, we've got a great show for you guys. We're talking the WFTDA D2 playoffs in Cleveland and Detroit. We'll also be talking about D1 playoffs in Tucson. And we have some very, very special guests from the Sacred City Derby Girls. We'll be talking to Forecloser, Kneel and Weep, and Shock and Auburn. Shock and a Burn? Shock and a Burn.
I think it's Shock and Auburn. Color.
And they hail from Sacramento, California. Now, last week we had D2 Cleveland winners, Kansas City Roller Warriors. So shout out to Mary Lou Wretched and Bruiser. Bruiser actually won MVP for that. And right now they're resting and they're getting ready for the championship in St. Paul, Minnesota. And a quick, cool announcement. So I got my second piece of fan mail from Lil Slinky in Stockholm Roller Derby, which of course is always welcome. You guys can always send us fan mail at either through Facebook message or on Twitter at Rink Rash Radio. So we are actually getting them on the show. So Lil Slinky is going to come on. She's from Stockholm Roller Derby, and they're going to be here just in time for Dallas. So we'll be talking to them before they play in the WFTDA championships in Dallas. Now, Anger is going to have some breakdowns for you guys on D2 Cleveland playoffs, updates on the Detroit playoffs, and predictions for D1 in Tucson. So she's going to be talking a lot. And then
so many words.
So many words from Anger. And real quick, thank you. I got a cafecito. I can't go wrong with that. It is Saturday morning, folks. And it's not raining. It's not pouring. Erica did dissipate, guys. So I found this cool little blog. Well, it's not little, but it is cool. Electrocutions. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel blog. And she posted up this wftdaplayoffs bingo card. And so basically you could catch, you could go to her blog, electraction.blogspot.com and check out this bingo card. And basically as you watch the playoffs, you can play bingo. So some of the bingo cards, which I found interesting, is if you see a jean vest wearing person at a playoff game on wftdaplayoffs, that's your person. If you see a loud leggings wearing person, if you see a track crew waving to the camera, or trucker hat wearing spectator, a ref in a kilt, and I know I've seen my fair share of those.
I was going to say, none of these will be hard. You should get bingo within like the first game.
A mascot incessantly waving. Have you seen mascots? I haven't seen any mascots. No?
I don't know.
Quadzilla. Just a whole box on this bingo card dedicated to Quadzilla. I think is awesome. And people line dancing at halftime. A heavily tattooed skater with piercings. Now that for sure I've seen. So have a little fun as you watch the playoffs.
Does it count if I just look up pictures of Quadzilla online?
I mean, you could cheat. Sure. So that is Derby. That is Derby Bingo, folks, on wftdaplayoffs. So you can play that. You can check it out on electrocution.blogspot.com. We'll go ahead and post that up on our Facebook and Twitter page so you can follow that. But first, so just to recap, we will be doing D2 Cleveland and Detroit recaps, D1 Tucson. And we're going to be talking to Forecloser, Kneel and Weep, and Shock and Burn from Sacred City Derby Girls. They're going to be on the show a little bit later. And if you're catching us live on Periscope, we are on Periscope. We are broadcasting live. This is the first time we're doing a full show, or maybe a few times we've done this. I don't know. This is the first time I'm aware of it. Lou behind the producer's box is telling me that this is not the first time.
Yeah, we've been on a few times, just a short few clips. we've had on
Don't die, Anchor.
a few clips on there, but but now we're doing a full show so people can
Stats are up to you.
so people can get the full effect of how the show goes live, also on Periscope, and they can talk to us. They can write to us there and give us hearts.
Absolutely. Give us lots of hearts. We want all the Derby love. Comment on it.
Thumbs up every time I see hearts. just awkwardly like.
So we are broadcasting live on Periscope, and but first we want to talk to Anger, who's got some breakdowns for us. She's going to give us some updates on what's been going on with the WFTDA playoffs. So you want to recap Cleveland for us? You want to start with that?
Well, first I'm going to recap a couple of games we had. We talked about last week.
True.
There was a Dub City South Florida game last week that Dub City beat South Florida 194-75.
Okay.
A Deadly Rival versus Braden Tucky, where Deadly Rival took the win 182-93. And then there was a Fort Myers Gold Coast game, which was actually Freakarilla's last official game.
That's right. Freakarilla is now in the Northeast. Don't want to say New York, New Jersey.
I think it's New
Okay, New York.
So, so unfortunately, Gold Coast didn't take the win for her last game, but she got her little final goodbye with Gold Coast. It was 362-25 with Fort Myers.
Wow, that's a high-scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been fun.
Yeah, for Fort Myers.
362 to what?
25.
Yeah. All right.
Tough game.
So that was the Florida roundup.
That was the Florida roundup.
Because of course, as it's not just with the playoffs, right? We still have games occurring throughout our season.
What are we talking about? It's not just FTA playoffs.
Nope.
Like constantly, every day, all day.
And Jacksonville's coming up. Are you
Yeah.
going to Jacksonville?
I'm trying.
I hear that. We might be making up there. I know there's a ref in a kilt that's going to be going up there. We scratched that off of my with the bingo card.
Well, she'll have a different one for that one because last week she had the shit announcers say bingo card.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. There was
was
a
a fun
shit
one.
announcer say card, and it is
So-
on her blog.
Yeah. So every week, she might put up a new card. I don't know if it's like something she's doing. But
Oh,
it's what she's done so far.
if it's
so.
not something that she's regularly doing, electrocution, you should totally do it because that is so much fun.
But yeah, so basically now we've got the Cleveland wrap up, which had a lot of information.
I'm showing people the bingo card
What?
because it's live.
Blocking my
broadcast.
face. I
Everything's
need to
blocking
stare
your
at myself.
face.
I know everything. That's fine. I'm just gonna put my hoodie up.
All right, my bad.
I'd be like, oh,
All introverted like. All right, Batman, tell us what's going on.
all right. There was a lot of interesting information. There was actually 2 rematches that happened in the bracket, which is very rare.
2 rematches.
Yeah, 2
Okay.
rematches. So basically, the first
From
2
my bracket.
games. The first 2 games. First one was Brandywine versus St. Chuck's.
Oh, this is
And,
we're talking Cleveland, right?
Yeah. And St. Chuck's took that win. And then the way everything played out in game 15, they ended up having to play each other again. And St. Chuck's took the win again. And the same thing with Jet City, Oklahoma in game 2. Oklahoma took the win by 32 points.
Mm.
And then they ended up somehow getting matched up again and having a rematch. And that time Jet City took it with 40 points extra. So it was quite interesting to see like the rematches and like how it panned out. And it's funny because even though in the first game for Brandywine St. Chuck's, the difference was only 9 points, the second game, 1 point difference.
Ooh.
I think it was like 130.
neck to neck.
Yeah, I think it was like 132
Lewis is
to
making a face.
133 or something.
We should totally broadcast your face on this. We just need your face reactions.
There was also 4 upsets. So basically, Houston, which was ranked at seed 6, beat Columbia Quad Squad, which was ranked at seed 3. Brandywine, which was seed 10, beat Treasure Valley, which was seed 4. Jet City, which was seed 8, beat Columbia Quad Squad at seed 3. And Santa Cruz, which was seed 1,
Yeah.
got
Major.
beat by Demolition, who was seed 5.
upset.
Yeah. And then there was 2 games that were 1 point difference. There was the Brandywine St. Chuck's, which I mentioned, and then the Jet City Columbia game was 1 point by Jet City. So basically, like the 3 highlight games, there was the Houston Columbia Quad Squad game, which was the big upset with Houston winning, and there was just a couple of key sequences where Houston opened up to a 43-point lead in the first half and just basically kept that, momentum going throughout the whole thing with Big Bad Voodoo Dolly getting 18 points in one jam and Speedo getting 28 points in another jam. So they had just some really big jams in the second half that kept that momentum up. And the penalties, Columbia just had more penalties and 2 skaters that fouled out. So it was just all of that culminating in Houston winning. The Brandywine Treasure Valley was really interesting just because there was 7 foul outs total in the whole thing.
I'm making faces.
Yeah, but there was 7.
listening.
There was 7 foul outs total in the whole thing. Let me see. It was 6 foul outs. Brandywine had 2 skaters that fouled out in the second half, and Treasure Valley had 4 skaters, and a couple of them were blockers. Jammers. So it was really important for them to keep them.
And penalties are really big right now. The teams that are getting the most penalties are not coming out on top as often.
Usually. Yes, usually.
And we'll talk more about the Detroit one, but there was a team that only made 4 penalties in the entire second half, and they came out on top. So we'll get into that one later. But it's the lower penalties are going to be the real difference maker, I think. Because you'll have less power, or you'll have more power jams if your other team is making.
Well, it depends
who's
who's getting the penalties too. If it's just blockers, then you just have the
but it totally changes
blocker
the game.
advantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just there are times where I've seen it where I can't remember exactly what game it was, but there was a game where one of the teams got lead jammer 60% of the time, and normally you think you get lead jammer the most, you're probably going to win. They did not. Even though they got lead jammer 60% of the time, they didn't win. So it all depends on when those penalties happen and what players get those penalties, because if it's just one blocker and the other blockers can manage to hold it together, you might be good. It all just kind of comes down to that. I've just seen more foul outs than I remember ever happening. And then the last key game was the Santa Cruz Demolition, obviously, which knocked Santa Cruz out of even getting top 2 because they got beat out by Demolition, which ended up becoming the 2nd seed in the finals. And their key sequence was just basically the jammers for Demolition. Bambi and Steffery opened up huge leads at the first half and just kept scoring. There was a 40 points scored in the first 8 jams.
Oh wow.
And then the penalties were just, Santa Cruz had some more penalties, but it just mainly came down to, Demolition even had one of their jammers foul out in the second half, and they still managed to win. So basically the final seed rankings for Cleveland came out to Kansas coming out on top, Demolition, Santa Cruz, Houston, St. Chuck's, Brandywine, Jet City, Oklahoma, Columbia, and finally Treasure Valley. So based on our predictions, Chief got the closest.
Oh yeah,
I was
going to ask.
Yeah,
how close did you guys get?
He actually guessed the 2nd and 3rd correctly, Demolition and Santa Cruz. I was off so bad. I got nothing right. But basically what happened was no one remained in their initial seed. Everyone, Everyone kind of moved around. Brandywine, the biggest changes were Brandywine went from seed 10 to 6. Demolition went from 5 to 2. And then Treasure Valley went from 4 to 10.
Ooh.
And Columbia went from 3 to 9.
Wow. Yeah, those are some, okay.
So those were some major things. So basically, Kansas City and Demolition are going to be the teams that move on to play in the D2 championships in St. Paul and Minnesota in November. And actually, okay, I actually just got messaged about one of the stats where basically yesterday, the game against Bear City that Sacred played,
yep,
Sacred had more penalties and they won.
Yeah. So
it all depends what the penalties are.
I want to ask
Cleveland. Go ahead.
Now, what was the energy out of what you've read and heard from that tournament in Cleveland? What was the energy over there for the whole tournament? Those 2 days. It was 2 days of tournament, right?
Yeah. Most of the games were actually pretty close.
Okay, that's good.
So and based on a lot of what I saw, which was a lot of penalties and a lot of foul outs, it seemed a little frantic. Like because the scores were so tight, a lot of the players were just trying to like really keep the momentum going for either a win or get that momentum to start racking up those points to get the win. And all of that franticness just kind of led to more penalties from what I could tell.
Okay, and that's good. I mean, the first tournament, and it was very a lot of good close games.
Yeah, it was really close, and there was a lot of movement.
So if you were watching it on with the TV or you were live, you got a lot of good action to watch.
Yeah,
that's good.
well, I mean, like that one game where 6 players fouled out. I mean, I didn't even watch that. I just got the Twitter updates for that, and I was just like staring at my phone at the edge of my seat, just like, oh my god, they're losing, and they're losing players. What are they doing? So I mean, there's definitely some interesting action going on. Some updates for the Detroit that's happening right now.
Hold on, I have some music for that.
What?
Nice little low. It won't be.
Yes, that's my dancing because I'm white. For game 1, Bear City, which is Berlin, beat the Boulder County Bombers 237 to 172. Sac City beat the Brew City Bruisers 229 to 160. Chicago Outfit beat Emerald City. It was such a close game. 141 to 121, so 20-point difference.
20 points.
Sacred City, who we'll have on shortly, beat Bear City Berlin. That was honestly the closest game yesterday because Bear City was neck and neck with them at the beginning, and then Sacred got this big lead, and then Bear City just started chipping away at it. And honestly, it was up to just the last jam where Sacred got lead, and that basically secured that for them because it was 203 to 192. So 11 points.
Could have gone either way.
Wow.
11 points. That's one jam.
It's a jam.
That's half a jam. So if Bear City had gotten that lead, it could have been Bear City.
Yeah.
It was very close.
They got the lead and called it off.
Mm-hmm. Then it was Nashville beat Sac City 221 to 151, and Naptown beat Wasatch 184 to 131. And right now the Boulder County Bombers are playing Wasatch, and Wasatch is winning.
And Brew City Bruisers are playing Emerald City.
Yeah, later.
They're playing in about an hour or so.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a few games coming up. So why don't you tell us what games we're going to be watching later on today? So we've got
Boulder County versus Wasatch that's happening right now. I think the second half just started. And so that's
with Wasatch in the lead.
And excuse me. The next game after that is going to be the Brew City Bruisers versus Emerald City. After that is Nashville versus Naptown.
And that's at 2:00.
Mm-hmm. All of these are 2 hours apart, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Then after that is Sac City versus whoever wins the game that's happening right now, Boulder versus Wasatch. And then after that is Bear City Berlin playing whoever wins the Brew City versus Emerald game. And then after that is Chicago Outfit versus Sacred.
Nice. And then the winners of Chicago and Sacred are going on to the final final game Sunday at
whoever
6:00.
wins Chicago Outfit versus Sacred will play for first place against whoever wins Nashville versus Naptown.
Exactly. And that game is Sunday at 6:00. And then we'll have our champion, our second place, and there's going to be a third place Sunday at 4. So there's a few slots that need to be filled for our top 3. So your predictions for Detroit?
Well, the top 2 are the ones that move on. So whoever
top
wins,
2 move on
for
play.
D2. The top 3 for D1 move on, but the top 2 for D2 are the ones that move on.
I lost you there for a second.
The number 1 and 2 that win in D2
right
are the ones that move on because it's the first top 2 for Cleveland and the first top 2 for Detroit that play for
the play
D2 championships.
Okay, gotcha.
And D1, it's the top 3 that move on to championships.
Gotcha. That's why there's a third place.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, I know we went over our predictions last week. So far, as of yesterday, I only got 2 games out of the 6 wrong.
Okay.
In my predictions. It was
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
You could win money on a fantasy roller derby.
Yeah, it was the second game, which was Sac City versus Brew City that I got wrong, and then it was the Emerald versus Chicago game that I got wrong as well. So only 2 out of 6, which isn't too bad.
And your
we'll
top
see.
3 for Detroit are?
My top 3 for Detroit are not. I mean, a couple of them might make to the top 3, but it's Emerald, Nashville, and Sacred.
Okay.
And so I wanted Emerald to come out in first, but they already lost games, so that's not going to happen.
Well, that's all right. You still got a couple possible in there.
Well, yeah.
And if you guys have predictions for the Detroit playoffs games, you can tweet at us at Rink Rash Radio. You can find us on Facebook. And I'm gonna fix my hair because it's a little frizzy here today. So. Yeah.
And also,
just for
if
your
you
Periscope
have
viewers.
ones for Tucson as well.
Yeah. Is it Tucson, Arizona?
Tucson.
Okay. All right. There's a C in there. It got me confused. So yes, predictions. If you got any predictions, any teams you want to play, any comments you'd like to make, tweet at us at Rink Rash Radio. Find us at Rink Rash Radio on Instagram or on Facebook. We'd be happy to talk about that on the show.
Well, I have one question. Who is it that you follow to get all your updates?
WFTDA on Facebook.
At WFTDA on
Okay.
Twitter. There's also
the for Twitter, especially for the live updates that are happening for the game, it's
Wolf the Live.
at WFTDA Live.
Oh, okay. So they're tweeting out live.
They
everything.
do live
Yes.
tweets from that account. It's
Play-by-play.
WFTDA Live.
Nice.
They do a play-by-play at
It's
Wolf
you
the
get
Live.
you get an update about if you just realize you get an update about once a minute. So if you subscribe, your phone is gonna die real fast. 'Cause mine is already at 77%.
But you're up to date on everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
actually,
it's like every minute it's like flash, which I mean I don't care, but just a heads up.
Yeah.
and it's we had the director of broadcasting, Erica Vanstone, on the show a couple weeks ago, and she's the one behind Wolf the Live, wftda.tv,
Mhm.
which does, I guess, the live broadcasting as well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I'm sure someone there does their live tweeting.
Yeah, if you know tweet at them at Wolf the Live, let them know you heard about them on Rink Rash Radio. So up next, we do have a few skaters from the Sacred City Derby Girls who are going to be playing the Chicago outfit. We have Forecloser, who is a childhood competitive artistic roller figure and freestyle skater. That's a mouthful. We'll be talking about that. She's the team She was the team captain for Sacred in 2009, and she's been playing with their all-star team as well. And she's also a member of their coaching team. She has an athletic background in basketball and volleyball. And this is what I kind of want to ask her about. She says that she actually uses her ball sports skills in movement and strategy in her coaching techniques.
Mhm.
So kind of interested about that. She has won numerous awards in her derby career. She's won the statistics leading jammer in 2014, MVP jammer in like 4 years in a row, most valuable motivator, most valuable overall player, and won best jammer in 2012 at the Dust Bowl tournament, and the MVP for the Red California tournament in 2010, and Rookie of the Year in 2009. So she's got a lot of experience jamming. And on Facebook, Jackie Daniels posted that she's a good skater and beat her up. So we've got a lot to talk about with her. We're also going to have Neil and Weep. She goes by Weepy. She's from the Sacred City Derby Girls. She is a former artistic skater who comes from a family of skaters. Both her mom and her grandmother have taught artistic skating lessons at a local rink. In fact, at that rink, Forecloser took lessons from Whippy's grandma. So that's kind of an, I know, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Small world.
Forecloser recruited Weepy, and Weepy's been playing for about 6 seasons. She's coming out of a bad leg break last season, so she's happy to be back. And she's also on their coaching committee and helps coach both of their travel teams. And then we're going to have Shock and Auburn. Shock. Originally founded Derby when she was Googling roller derby costume for a Halloween party. So we'll ask her about how she came to want to dress up as a roller derby girl for Halloween. Found Sacred's website and went to tryouts. She's been an athlete all her life and has no previous skating experience. She joined in 2010. She's a jammer and a blocker, but prefers to jam. So she's known on the track by her teammates as driven by passion and intensity. My kind of girl. So we'll be talking to them later on in the show. That's Sacred City Derby Girls, who just came off a win against Bear City, who are from Berlin, and they'll be playing in Detroit. They're in Detroit right now. They'll be playing against the Chicago outfit to see if they move on to the next round. So that's kind of where we're at right now. If you're just tuning in, you can follow along the D2 playoffs. Electrocution put up on her blog spot, with the bingo card, and you could find all sorts of funky characters on there, and you can follow along with the playoffs. You can find all of the action on wftda.tv. I think you play like $12 or something for the weekend to watch all the playoffs.
D2,
yeah, for D2. So you can catch that. Any other updates you wanna share with us, Amber?
Yeah, we haven't done the Tucson predictions yet.
Okay. Are we gonna break for a segment, or we keep going?
Yeah, we can go to break for about the minute and a half.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with Tucson and some more updates on the WFTA playoffs.
This is Wilma Shakespeare,
Anger,
and Disaster Chief
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.,
and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby in the 305.
Get the 411 on the women's team,
the men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio.
On 247miami.tv.
I love all of it. I can't pinpoint it. I love hitting. I love jamming, obviously.
Okay.
And I love it. I guess I love it most because I love to skate.
By skaters, for skaters. You're listening to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv.
Back to Rink Rash Radio. And we're trying to get the girls. We're live right now on the radio, quite literally, and we've got the girls from Sacred City. We're actually broadcasting on Periscope as well. So I'm gonna plug you into the board, and so people can actually hear you on the radio side. Give me just 1 sec. All right. And so here I'm showing you guys our Periscope feed for those on Periscope watching us live. And we've all right. Well, you are on the show, and so I'm Shakes, and that's Anger, and that's Lou. That's the man behind the board, and we've been talking. If you guys just want to hang tight, we're going to talk a little bit about predictions for Tucson. Feel free to chime in if you like, and then we'll go to you guys. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Cool.
All right. So basically, next week, Tucson is going to be the first D1 playoffs. We've got the seeds. Seed 1 is going to be Victorian. 2 is Bay Area. 3, Arch Rival. 4, Rocky. 5, Charm City. 6 is going to be Team United. 7 is Terminal. 8 is Arizona. 9, Mad Rollin' Dolls. And 10, Tri-City. So that's where they're coming in at. So my personal predictions for that is going to be Victorian coming out on top because
Victorian.
There's just, I mean, basically
Victorian.
everyone has like stolen their wall from last year's success and just used it. So I mean, they've definitely got a lot going for them. We'll see what they pull out of their bag this year. I'm hoping in second, one of my personal favorite teams, Terminal City from Canada, comes out. And then another one of my personal favorites comes in third, Charm City. This is more my personal favorite bracket. So then that would make Arch Rival 4th, Bay Area 5th, which is unlikely. Rocky Mountain 6th, Team United 7th, Arizona 8th, Mad Rollin' Dolls 9th, and Tri-City 10th. The flat track stat prediction has Victorian coming out on top.
Because Victorian.
Basically, everyone has Victorian coming out on top.
They're a really strong team.
they-
We played them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
and
you
then-
say you guys played them?
We've played them twice, actually. Yeah, and they're a really, really strong team. And watching them at Big O this year, their walls are solid. Their jammers are solid. They just have a very smart and clean strategy.
Yep.
So.
Nice. We're looking forward to watching them.
So basically, actually, Chiefs and the flat track stat predictions are basically almost the same until like the last four. So I'm just going to go through them both. They both have Victorian coming out on top, followed by Arch Rival, followed by Bay Area, Rocky in fourth, Terminal City fifth, and Charm City sixth. And then where they deviate is Flat Track has Team United seventh, Mad Rollin eighth, Tri-City ninth, and Arizona 10th. Whereas Chief has Arizona seventh, Tri-City eighth, Team United ninth, and Mad Rollin Dolls 10th. So I mean, for the most part, most people are predicting the top sixth in about the same order, except me because my team favorites differ. So basically, the reason for those, at least on Chiefs' side, is so many things. Is basically the fact that we'll go through fifth through first. That even though, because he predicts Terminal versus Charm in the end, and Terminal taking that. So, just due to the strong showing at Derby Night in Canada, because they've both been about even. For third place would be Rocky versus Bay Area, which is kind of a toss-up, because they met at RollerCon where Bay Area, they met at RollerCon where Bay Area won, but has been kind of up and down. Like I know they played a game against Denver that was pretty, not too long ago, that was pretty all over the place. And then Victorian versus Arch Rival, which is just, even though they've both had really great seasons, Victorian has just been undefeated since last November and is just killing it all year. So Victorian's probably going to come ahead with that win in Tucson.
All right, so we're gonna move on for right now, and we're gonna be talking to our guests. We've got forecloser from Sacred City Derby Girls, as well as Neil and Weep. And is it Shock and Auburn or Shock and Auburn?
Shock and Auburn.
Shock and Auburn. All right. And so just a little bit of background. We're gonna, for people who are just tuning in live, forecloser, childhood competitive artistic roller figure and freestyle skater in the 80s, and team captain with Sacred since 2009. She plays on their all-star team and is a member of their coaching team. So has an athletic background in basketball and volleyball. We'll talk more about that. Neil and Weep, known as Weepy, former artistic skater who comes from a family of skaters. She has actually, she was recruited by Forecloser and has now been playing for 6 seasons with Sacred. And Shock and Auburn, who found roller derby through a Halloween party by Googling a roller derby costume, and has been a Sacred skater since 2010. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So if you guys just want to go around the room and just kind of introduce yourselves, tell us where you're from and how you got here today.
I'm Neil Weep, and I don't know. I got here 6 seasons ago by Forecloser berating me over and over again to come try out because I've skated my whole life, and started out B team and worked my way up. I came back from a huge injury last year. I had a broken leg, and it ended up taking all year to come back. So came back March this year and going strong ever since. So your turn.
Shock and Auburn, and like you said, I randomly decided to Google roller derby costumes because I thought I would just be a roller derby girl for Halloween, and saw we were having tryouts and said, I'll go try out, but I didn't tell anybody I was trying out just in case I didn't make it. I ended up like smashing my arm because I couldn't stop, and like, it was absolutely terrible. I could not skate, but I believe in determination and keep going. And so I've been a sacrificer since 2012, and yeah, I love telling my girls, because I'm part of the training committee, that even if you can't skate, that doesn't mean you won't eventually know how to skate.
Nice.
And I'm the forecloser. I've been with Sacred since 2009, actually 08, and then in 09 started Fresh Meat, and already knew how to skate, but had no idea how to play derby, had never seen it, didn't know the rules. But I went to a birthday party at a roller rink, saw a flyer, and my friend and I put it on our bucket list to try out. We tried out. Immediately, I don't know, there was like a shift in the team. Many of the All-Stars actually quit that season. And my first game was a sacrificer game against Denver. And then the next one was against Rocky Mountain. Yeah. And
your first game was against Denver?
At that point. Yeah. It was crazy.
I would have
Anger. Tell them how you feel about Denver.
I would have cried. Denver is like my favorite team ever in the world. Ever.
Yeah, they were my first like game. Like I still didn't know the rules. They called me Braveheart. Like I would just like fly to the pad. Like no stopping. We had minors back then, and so I would just back up those minors, go to the box, not really know why I was going. It was a crazy time, but it was fun. I learned definitely the hard way. For sure.
That was the first game of roller derby I ever actually watched, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on here.
Wow.
And then my game was actually against Bay Area, and it was awful.
Your first game was against Bay Area? Incredible.
My first sacrificer game, it was actually my second game playing, was against Bay Area, and it was 315 to 12 or something like that, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it felt good.
Because it feels good to smash.
Yeah, it's Sacred's way, apparently, because my first game was against Kansas City, and I tried out for our team, and I didn't make it, and then I tried out again and made it to the sacrificers, and they're like, surprise, you're playing Kansas City. I'm like, oh, okay.
So for people who have not played in their first game, or just played their first game, what would you guys say based on your experience from playing in your first bout against teams like this, and now you're in the playoffs? So based on your experience, what would you say to the people who are playing for the very first time?
Well, there's a lot of fear, that goes into that first game anyway. And then when you realize the caliber of team, like if it happens to be a high-ranked team like that, you just have to get rid of the fear and realize, and on the good side, they're just people, and the reality of it is, one thing with our sport, for the most part, everybody is pretty cool. They realize that you're probably kind of new, and they're not going to be jerks about it. So that's a little different, I think, with our sport. And even seeing the sport change a little bit too. We don't have as many of the big hits, and
right.
Looking back, I used to be terribly sore and whiplashed at the end of games, and like hit by a truck because the style was different. And now you're tired and your legs are tired and sore, but the impact just doesn't seem as scary as it used to be as far as the big hits. So
you would say the game is actually safer now?
I feel like it is. I mean, personally, I feel like all of the skills are getting better. Skaters are better. Control is better. It's definitely a slower, more controlled game than that high speed. Mm-hmm. We're going to chase after each other, and I just want to see if I'm going to make you fly across the track. But, as far as being new and coming in, everybody had to start that way, and you just have to be able to depend on your teammates.
Yeah, you're going in as a team. Like, you can't think you're going in as an individual, because everybody else is pretty new at it too, and you're there with your team. You're not out there on the track by yourself, so you got to rely on your buddies to help you out. So it's a team sport. It's easier because you're going out there and putting yourself out there with everybody else who will help you out. So
unless your greatest fear is forgetting the rules or how to skate.
The rules. I've learned the rules the hard way myself. I think there was one game, I think one of our last away games that we did with Miami was I forgot I was the jammer.
Both Thor and I have switched back and forth to playing blocker and then playing jammer, and you're like, wait, am I the jammer? And like, you just completely forget. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm in the pack accidentally doing my own thing, apparently.
Yeah. And so you guys have had some incredible games this weekend. What are if you want, you guys go around the room, what are some of the highlights for you for these D2 playoffs in Detroit?
For me, I really felt like our team came together and we've showed the best of our abilities here. We came in wanting to be very calm and collected and do all the strategy we've been working on all season, and it all came to a head the last game where it just magically happened. Like everything you work on, you don't realize until that game happens, and you're like, whoa, we're doing all the stuff we learned, guys. Like this is amazing. And so it really, for me, it came to that we're such a team now, and it felt so good just to be calm and collected and have strategy and just implement everything. It was amazing for me. It was a great game.
I have this very vivid memory. I'm sitting on the bench getting ready to go out, and I can hear Weepy calling out plays, so dominating. And I'm like thinking, I'm so glad I'm not the jammer going against that wall because I know how that feels. And it wasn't so much the blocking as far as the communication. That jammer had nowhere to go because we knew where she was the whole time. And it just made me smile to be like, that's my team. You know, I'm glad I'm not playing against my own team.
That's good.
I think so far, yesterday we've seen these teams play all year and everybody has improved. And so it is also fun. We have friends on other teams. We cheer them on. We watch on wftdaTV, and to actually, it's really neat to see this season, each one of these teams has improved. And you can see in the rankings, obviously we're all so close in differential, and to actually get to watch a lot of these teams live, like Emerald, they're solid. We watched them play yesterday, and everybody, win or lose, as far as that goes, there is great improvement on each team this season. So it's always a fun weekend when you can get together with these different teams and watch everybody play. And even for us, we've come a long way since the beginning of the season with our teammates meshing. We were fairly new at the beginning of the season playing together. We had all been with Sacred, but we weren't necessarily all sacrificers, so
and how many teams do you guys have?
4. We have 4 teams. So we have 2 home teams, and then Disciples are what you would call like a JV, and then the Sacrificers being the all-star, the varsity.
Okay.
So yeah, comparably. But as far as yesterday, when we looked at the stats, the proud moment for me was, as jammers, you go into that rotation because I'm a jammer, and the worst thing you can do is go to the box for your team.
Yeah.
And your team is losing those points basically because the other team's scoring, and our blockers did an amazing job holding down the opposing jammer during those power jams. And basically, statistically, that was quite impressive yesterday when we looked at what the blockers accomplished as a team on behalf of the jammers who did go to the box. So that is something we've been working on because a jammer's probably going to go to the box. You try really hard, but it was quite amazing when you look at the stats to see what our blockers accomplished, and especially against Germany. I mean, it was they're strong.
And so actually this was something that was kind of brought up a little earlier in the show was, the how penalties are affecting or not affecting the game. And I know there was a team that only had in Detroit that only had 4 penalties in the last half of the game. And that allowed them to really take advantage of, the other team, because the other team had a lot more penalties, and that I'm not saying that was the reason they won, but that obviously was a big factor, so the less penalties that they were able to have gave them an advantage, in my opinion. So how are you guys preparing for Chicago tomorrow, or tonight actually, at 8 o'clock?
Tonight.
Right?
So, we do focus on penalty management, and at the end of the game, we sit down and we look at what penalties we received mentally and physically. How can you accomplish the goal of not repeating that same penalty? And so for the most part, everybody does feel in control of, okay, that penalty I received, this is why, this is what I need to change. So as far as going in like with fear of getting multiple penalties or our jammers going to the box, we feel really good about, okay, why did I go? Yes, I can fix this. And that's what we're going to do tonight.
Well,
so,
how do you even, like, as I know sometimes, in gameplay, it gets a little heated, right? It is an aggressive sport after all. How do you manage when you feel you got called on something that you shouldn't have gotten called on?
Yeah, so that is a positive of basically these penalties we received. For me, for example, I had 3 of them I was in control of. If I would just be more patient, change my body position, I know that I will avoid getting those penalties tonight. So, you break it down. There was one that was, I'm not quite sure, so I'll just let that go and take it for what it is. It was a reffing decision, and legitimately, it probably was a high block. I just don't remember that one, so you just have to let that one go and just know that that's that whole mind and body. We skate so much, we practice so much. When you're rushing or you skate with fear or you lose patience because of fear, then your body does things that you don't have control over. So it's taking that step back, and everything has a purpose. We move through the pack with purpose. You take your opportunities, you don't take your chances.
I
love that.
tend to be one of the most aggressive, a little aggro, a little angry sometimes. It's been something I've been working on for a long time. And for me, yesterday's game, first of all, when I went to the box, I knew I had done these things and it was okay, first of all. And second of all, I've had this realization through this season that me getting angry and not going to the box right away is hurting my team. And that's something that I had to work through. Like, it's not about me. It's not about my anger. It's about my team. Go to the box, get out of the box, and go do some work. And that's really the mindset that I came in. I can't hurt my team. I have to do this for them. So, and the reffing has been pretty phenomenal. Yeah. Like this weekend, it's been pretty fair. There's been a lot of penalties, but I don't think anything has been too crazy. So, yep.
All right. So now, so tell us about, what you're looking forward to the most. How are you visualizing? What's your mental game like going into tonight?
So I think the positive with our team is we've never really focused on, per se, who we're playing. Coaching, we have our discussions on strategy, reminders, tools that we're going to use when the bench coaches are coaching. But as far as like the skaters are concerned, you go in and play like you practice, and we are going to play our game. It doesn't really matter who we're playing. We just have to play our strategy, and then we will use different tools according to what the other team is using against us. So for the most part, we just are in control of ourselves. And that's kind of been the theme this season.
You go and you play your game.
Right. And then once we sense that we're moving away from our game, obviously your bench coach, the senior skaters, your line leaders, we have to pull everybody back and reset. And for the most part, that sort of mindset is really working for our team. We use a lot of visualization, a lot of being just aware of how we're feeling as a team, because we're reading each other's brains pretty much, so, excuse me. So
I want to pause you on the visualization aspect, because I think that it's something that is really important when it comes to gameplay, is visualizing the win. Right. So in when you're visualizing, are you visualizing as a group? Are you visualizing individually? Both? Yeah. And what maybe some things that, for somebody else who might be playing, like you could say, look, this is what you should focus on when you're going into a game.
Right. I think for me personally, what I like to visualize is myself doing the correct things, because often when I tell myself I'm not going to cut, or I'm not going to do this block, basically I end up doing that. And so if you tell yourself, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be clean, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the O for my jammer, like this is what I'm going to do, rather what I'm not going to do. And that's how I visualize. I'm going to go in for this block and we're going to do this play and it's going to work out. And it usually does, unless you think negatively. But Shock's really good at the visualization.
So focusing on what you can and will do.
Yes.
Rather,
yeah,
okay.
Not what you don't want to do, but what you will do. So, yeah.
And I think removing fear from, every game is different. Every jam's different. we kind of just go with the flow. The whistle blows. What's your goal? Is it to help your blockers? Is it to get lead? Obviously score points, skate clean, but you have to remove the fears. And the minute any team or an individual, you start getting afraid. I'm afraid I'm going to commit a penalty. I'm afraid I'm going to mess up. That pretty much happens. So as soon as you can get the fear to go away and then have like that core control, you're just going to perform like you do at practice.
I want to push back a little bit on this. And to me personally, you don't ever really get, like, the fear doesn't go away. The fear is still there. It's just, the courage, I think, you use to push through that,
Right. Well, I think there's a difference between having fear and being nervous.
Okay.
So I think we're all nervous. The minute you're not nervous, then you're
doing
bored,
something
I guess.
wrong.
I don't know. But I think of fear as being like you're up in your head. You don't feel the game in your core, like in your stomach. And it's that old saying of like, just make the butterflies fly in the same direction.
Could you say that one more time? That's awesome. Make the what?
Just when you have the nervous stomach, you just have to take that deep breath and then make all of those butterflies fly in the same direction instead of all over the place.
Nice.
So it's okay to be nervous. You're going to have the nerves, but put those nerves in your stomach, not in your brain, because your body will autopilot. It'll go on autopilot. It will not be on autopilot if the fear is in your brain, because it can't function like that.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's a lot of, like, for jammer training, we talk a lot about put the strength in your core, make the butterflies fly in the same direction. Don't use your head. Sometimes your body just has to go on autopilot.
Right.
And that's why
trust your training, trust your instincts,
Exactly.
trust your teammates.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think knowing your role on the team is really important. You watch like really high level, anything, basketball, whatever, there's always that shining star. Maybe your role's not to play that shining star. Your role is to go out there and hold the line. That's it. Your goal is to go out there and force the call. And if you accept and like perfect that role on the team and you do that, each and every one of us are going to go out there and play our role instead of everybody try to be the superstar.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with knowing what your role is and continuing to play that role, because you are a part of 13 other people plus you, and not all of you can go out there and do these amazing, awesome, wow, you're the best things. It's like, I'm okay with not being noticed because I'm here and I'm doing my thing and it's working for my team and I'm there for my team. So mentally, if you are able to take the pressure of like, everything's about me and I have to go and do these things and go, I'm here, I'm doing my role, I know how to do my role, and my head is clear because I know exactly what I'm out here doing.
Nice. And I think that also has to do with the communication in the team, knowing, not just like knowing in turn, like you, what your role is, but communicating that to your line so that everybody knows what their role is in that. We've only got a few minutes left, but just to kind of move a little bit away from game talk, because I did want to touch on this because it's kind of fun, right? So competitive artistic roller figure and freestyle skater in the 80s. I mean, how, when, what's the story behind that?
So for me, I have known Weepy's family since I was probably in like 3rd grade. Her Nana, her mom, her uncle, like we went to school together. I was a rink rat. I went and skated. They recruited me to skate. Basically, her mother was pregnant with her, like while I was skating. So, and then actually Weepy worked for our family business. And that's when I would like hound on her to recruit her. And she actually was my son's teacher. So
what? Oh my God.
Yeah, so lots of influence here, but her family was a huge influence on me skating. I love her Nana. Like she is such a kind woman and just made me love skating. I mean, it's just the joy that I got from that was just when you're a kid and you're just left to your own devices, at least like I was being productive, I guess, you know, and you know, it was a good skill. It's balance, peripheral vision, a lot of benefits came from it. But then I moved on in high school just to play sports that actually were team sports. I kind of got tired of the individual sport. So for me, and then actually Weepy, she didn't mention this, but she used to do freestyle on inline skates.
Oh.
Well, so for my family, there's 4 generations of art skaters now. And so it started with my Nana, and she's from England, and she came over here with my pop-up after the war. And she was an art skater there and came back and started coaching here. And my mom was a coach, and all my sisters and I were all skaters for a very long time. And now my niece is a skater. And I seriously thank art skating for my derby world now, because I came into derby already knowing how to skate, and now I just have to learn derby. And so like with that foundation, I would not be who I am today. I would not be playing the way I am today. And like there are skaters that come from no skating experience, but I'm just so thankful that I had that, you know. And I love watching my niece skate still.
Aww, it's all in the family.
It's so, I know, I'm so weepy about it, but
you mean weepy is being weepy about it?
It's just not as popular, you know. And I mean, I love roller skating.
and Shock, you actually don't come from a background in skating. And what was that like for you, kind of coming in, you know, you've been athletic, but you hadn't actually skated, right?
No, not at all. I skated when I was younger, but I was like a rollerblader, but I was way more of a bike tricks, you know, like BMX and stuff like that.
What? That's so awesome.
So I didn't have a lot of fear, like falling. I'm like, okay, yeah, I have 3 brothers, and you know, we're very like competitive, but I wasn't, I had played competitive soccer for a very, very long time. And then in my mid-20s, I stopped playing, and I was really missing being on a team.
Right.
And I mean, I knew that I had the ability, like as a soccer player, again, I didn't come from, nobody in my family is really very sport minded or athletic. So I knew I already had it in me to work harder than anybody else to get where I needed to be. Like that wasn't something that I was nervous or worried about. It was, how do I become part of a team again? And I am a really big fan of team sports, whether you're a kid or an adult. Like they are social skills that I think a lot of people might be lacking. But I am really thankful for my athletic background because it playing with people who have never played a team sport, you're just like, but that's just how it is. It's not about you. It's about the team.
That's right.
And it's like, if you want to get better, you have to put in the time. Things that I took for granted, having been on a team for so long, you know, like this is a sport that attracts people who have never played sports before. So I think part of my role on the team is to encourage those people who have never played a team sport and how to be a team player in a positive way. So I think my soccer background, I was a goalie. And I'm not very big, but I can be very intimidating. So my favorite thing in the whole world is when someone who's much bigger than me hits me and I don't go down and I just kind of like, yeah, and I go, because it's surprising to them that even though I am smaller, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm going to keep going. Like no matter what you do, I'm going to keep going. So,
nice.
Bony hips and shoulders.
Yeah, all the bones. I'm just a bag of bones.
So we actually do have to wrap up. It's the end of the show. But real quick, if anybody you guys want to give a quick shout out to, whether it's your teammates or anybody in your family members, just quick shout out to everyone. Go for it.
I would like to thank everybody that donated to help me get to playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of you, so I can't say all your names, but I really just want to thank you so much, because I would not be here and I would not be playing without all of you. And I love my family and all that. So yeah.
I want to say thank you to all the Sacred City fans in Sacramento and California and all over that support us and believe in us. It's good to be the underdog sometimes, and we're excited for the rest of this weekend. And we just really want to thank our fans. We have an incredible group of people back home that are cheering us on, and we can feel that from here. All the posts, comments, text messages, emails, it means everything. So we want to definitely say thank you to everybody.
Yes.
Mine's very similar to 4, just supporting Sacramento Roller Derby as a total, because the other Sacramento team is here with us. And so it's so exciting to hear the excitement for roller derby in our town. So we're super thankful for that.
Well, we definitely want to wish you guys the best as you face Chicago tonight. And I hope that we'll be hearing about your successes very shortly. And we'll definitely, want to thank you guys for being on the show, for taking time away, and just talking with us about Derby and about what you guys are looking forward to tonight. So all the best from Rink Rash Radio.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Shakespeare,
Anger,
and Lou behind the board. All right, guys. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
All right, and that was your episode of Rink Rash Radio. We will be having more Wolf the Playoffs next week, and we'll also be talking to Lil Slinky from Stockholm Roller Derby in a couple weeks. Thanks so much for tuning in.
This is Wilma Shakespeare,
Anger,
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out